folks. Welcome back to the channel. With absolute professionals doing this all in one take now. So,
One take might not be good, but there you go.
it'll probably be crap, but that's what they're used to when they watch this channel. So, hello everybody. I am here with my wonderful mum, as you can see, Joyce, and we thought we'd do something a bit special with it being this time of year. So, I'm back to the UK tomorrow. But as you know, I know it's pants. My mum is a very successful medium and healer and all around general spooky person. What she does predominantly is channels for people, as I'm sure you're aware of how a medium works. But as of the last few years, it isn't always somebody's granny or long lost pet that comes through. We thought it would be interesting to have a chat about channeling in general and how to communicate with, I think, non-physical entities is a UAP way of
Yeah,
saying things that can't necessarily knock at the door to come in but pop in,
yeah.
because there's so many crossovers that we found between what mum had been doing previously with her clients and then all this stuff that I got interested in and we ended up both learning about. Plus, as we'll get into later, when mum's had sightings of orbs, she's attempted to connect with them in exactly the same way as she would do if it were a spirit that she's conveying information for. And that modality seemed to be exactly the same. So we're going to get into that. But first of all, hello.
Hello. Hello, son.
And hello, everybody, of course. So, first of all, I think, well, obviously you can steer this conversation just as much as me, but I think let's start by talking about just mediumship.
Okay.
Okay, so it might be a good idea for people that haven't seen the other stuff that we've done together
Mm-hmm.
if you could just briefly give us an
Yes.
overview of what it's actually like.
Okay. So it's not a unique skill by any means. Most people, in fact, most people, like 90% of people, have the ability to channel, which is what mediumship is about, really. We're called a medium because we're in the middle, if you like. It's being able to um, pick up on a vibration that's higher than people sitting around a table. And in the same way that dogs can perceive, animals perceive different sounds, it doesn't mean that because we can't hear them, they're not there. So basically, you can develop that skill, and we can all do it. So if you want examples of when we can all, why I'm saying everybody can do it, think of the times when, and we use this example a lot because it's so obvious. You're driving and you suddenly get this really strong urge that you need to slow down and you don't know why, and you do, and nothing happens. Well, that just means you've avoided a situation, or you can ignore it and drive around the corner straight into that cow that's escaped from a field. So you'd call that intuition. The fact that that's a word used globally means it's a global phenomenon. And I don't believe there's such a thing as intuition. I think it's somebody that cares about you, whether that's one of your dead relatives or friends, or somebody in the spirit world who's got likes the way that you're thinking, um, a guide to you, who will be putting that information in your head, giving you that feeling. So yes, we can get the funny feeling in the tummy. Yes, we can get a smell that reminds us of somebody. Yes, you can wake up thinking about somebody. But there's all these ways that you have intuition. Okay. Anybody that's a parent can have a funny feeling that their child's not right. They're keeping something from you. And then you can kind of keep your eye on them. And it's that knowing without knowing is the best way to describe mediumship.
Can I jump in for 2 seconds?
Please.
Brilliant. Can you move your microphone just a little bit, because the colour of your jumper is on it, so it probably sounds like a mole tunneling through earth.
Listen, what I have in my bra is my business.
No, no. But yeah, that probably, I just, at some point it was going to make a racket.
Be
So I
quiet
thought
in there, you little devil.
it's better to irritate you now than
Okay.
when we knacker all the video.
Okay.
But I think that sums it up brilliantly. We are surrounded by non-audible data from
Yes.
every radio channel on the planet to Wi-Fi and microwave information, and there are cases of people having a filling not done properly where they're picking up on, they thought they were
Radio.
schizophrenic because it was vibrating through the jawbones and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like that. So I guess the point of what I'm trying to say is, just because your ears, eyes, nose can't detect it,
Hmm.
your monkey senses,
Hmm.
doesn't mean that this information isn't there. And
Yeah.
there are proven examples of, uh, so Rupert Sheldrake proved telephonic telepathy,
Hmm.
where people would just pick their phone up and they just had a message off a friend, or
Yeah.
they were just about to,
Yeah.
or I was just thinking of you today, and then you bump into them in the street and stuff like that. So there's evidence of a subtle influence by, I'm going to call it non-human intelligence.
Okay.
And all I mean by that is not a living human,
Okay.
you know? It's like a humane intelligence in many cases if it's your guide or a relative that's
Yeah.
whispering in your ear to say, don't cross that road or
Yeah.
leave this relationship
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just that some people are better at listening to it or picking it up, or better trained in picking it up.
Yeah. Some people who are um, meant to develop mediumship usually have quite traumatic instances in their lives when they absolutely can no longer put it down to just chance or coincidence. And then that takes away, it just dispels any cynicism or skepticism that you may have had. So, my point is that you don't have to believe in this. It doesn't require you to believe in it, it just requires you to act on the thought that comes into your head, your intent.
Yeah. And we've all met people that say, like, oh, this is all rubbish, but I just trust my gut instinct and then it always works. Or,
Well, that'll do.
stuff like that. But whatever you choose to describe it, whatever terminology, it's the same thing of an extra cognitive interaction.
Yeah, because it just means that you've listened to your guides put slow down, that's going to happen. And you've listened, in which case, okay. So you haven't, because you're not a trained medium, you don't realize that you've channeled that from your guide or your mother.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody that has some more awareness of it, of how the mechanics of it work, would get the information, act on it, and then say, and you'd just know who it was. So I'd say, thanks, Dad, or thanks, Mum, because I'd know it. But initially, the information comes in, and I don't stop and say, well, who's this? Or go into, oh, I want to channel this. It's just like there, act on it, and then say, thanks for that. Who was that? And you, but it's just knowing. Okay, so there's no mysticism about mediumship as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but let's unzip it a little more, because there's so many people that, just like the UAP subject, will over mystify it
Yes.
to try and, in their opinion, that adds some level of
Kudos.
competency or kudos.
Mm.
Whereas, in my experience, as soon as people start talking about, this zeta reticuli and the mantids are here to do this and do that, it loses me. And it's very much the same with mediums when they're like, I'm channeling this entity in this way. It's like, we've got no idea how it works. So, would you mind just explaining, when you get a message,
Yeah.
it's not conversational exchange as if you were talking to us now, for example. It's more like an unpacking. It's like a zip file of
Sometimes.
stuff.
Sometimes it is like having a conversation. That is the whole point of I'm trying to get across. You get you would use the word gnosis. You know without knowing. Okay. Um, but because I'm used to that, normally if I'm doing a reading for somebody, and they've lost somebody, then we invite them to come through and they get the message and it makes perfect sense and off they go. So the very first time I was aware of, and I'm not saying it's the first time it happened, just saying it's the first time I was aware of it, that it wasn't a human person. I was having, I was doing a reading for a lady who was um, a physicist, and she was getting information from an entity who said she was from the Pleiades. And this is where people start to think we've gone loopy. But I'm just telling you what I got. She said she was from the Pleiades. She said um, that this lady wanted to know what her name was, and she was saying, "Well, we don't have names. We don't need names. We're not things. We don't have bodies, if you like. We just communicate in this way." So it was no different to me than getting a message from somebody's loved one. The information was coming in. So I just put it down to the fact that she went on, by the way, to give her some very specific instructions on how to make some alterations to some equipment she was making in her lab that made no sense to me, but were absolutely relevant to that lady. And she said, "Well, that's fantastic." So that got me interested in that. It's not something that I immediately got excited about and thought, "Well, I can speak to aliens or anything." I just thought, well, that was just the person that needed to speak to her on that day. Okay,
I'm going to jump in as well
crack on.
because I think for the benefit of the people watching and the obvious anybody that would hear some, when you say like the Pleiades,
Hmm.
a lot of people would go like, "Oh, that's a cheesy trope." But
Yeah,
what is important, what I want to reinforce, is that Mum had zero interest in the whole ufology side of things. So things like Zeta Reticuli and the Pleiades and all of these things that we think are like, oh yeah, the old this thing in the book, or description of some of the entities. Um, what might be a stereotype to us, Mum has had no immersion into.
no, I was
So
busy being a professional psychic for a big hotel chain. I was busy doing
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you have a client, you never want to know anything about them.
Absolutely.
And it's very much the same when I, as you guys can imagine, start rambling on about UFOs and UAP and stuff like that. If it's anything that you're actually working with or
Mm,
getting, you're always like, shut up. You'll,
absolutely.
yeah. So just
Absolutely.
if you could just maybe talk a little about that process of keeping a clean table.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that whether it's your grandfather or somebody that wants to talk to you that's a different being, like the blue man or the green man, we have quite a few that pop in, and we don't ask for them. It would appear to me that they just pop in, dependent on the conversation that we're having, or if Tom's spoken about something, he can be having a conversation with somebody, and I can just get something, and I have to do the old thing when you're at school and you go like that. Let me tell you this. And then I can pop something in. And I know it's frustrating for him because if you're knowledgeable about a subject, you want to say, "Oh yeah, that's right," because that's so and so. I don't want to know because that keeps me a clear channel. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again because I'm boring like that. It's just really important not to, like a little dog chasing every single bicycle that goes past. If you get something that makes sense to the person that's having the reading, you don't have to become part of that. You just pass it on as a clean message. And what I'm trying to say is, which is what the conversation's about, to me, there's no different process. I don't feel any different. I don't feel taller. I don't feel like I've got prickly feet or spines growing out of my head or anything. I just feel like this is just a message coming in through the same things. In the same way that you could be speaking to a French person, an Iranian person, an American person, you're still hearing it through your ears. You might not understand it, but it's still coming in the same way. So for me, the messages come through exactly the same, whether they're from any sort of entity or non-human intelligence, as it now seems to be the zip thing to say,
The word of the day. Yeah.
or your dead granny. Seems exactly the same.
So I'm immediately reminded of one of the first times that we had a really fascinating encounter was with that entity that said she was from the Pleiades.
Yes.
And we
Who
were
who
in.
did give us a name to keep the physicist happy, or the humanness of us happy with it having a name, which was Lyra, which we then found out it's a star
Yeah.
in the Pleiades, which I thought was funny because she's obviously
No,
playing with
it's
us.
in. It's either in the Aguilas or. But
It doesn't
it's a
matter.
really prominent star.
It's a star.
What the point that I'm trying to was reminded of is we were in a different house and we'd been having a conversation with this Lyra, and it was she said, "Right, go outside."
Mm-hmm.
We did, and there was four or five really profound blue flashes,
Flashes.
like boom, 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 like a mini firework display,
Yeah.
and that was ridiculously
Yes.
amazing
Yes.
because we're in an environment that we know, a sky that we look at all the time,
Yeah.
and it was like a backwards operating CE5,
Yeah.
if you like. We'd just been
Yeah. It
having a
was.
conversation, and it's like, right, get outside,
Yeah.
and then bang, you're physically now having the confirmation apart from the whole
Yes.
channeling conversation. It's like, well,
Yes.
okay, did you see that? Yes, cool. Um,
Yeah.
so that's all I have to say about that. But but the point is, it was exactly the same modality as when you're working with ex-humans or
Yeah. Basically,
normal people stuff.
yeah. You're still a receiver. You're receiving messages. Now that can either be um, a sentence, a description of something, um, with the sorry, touching my microphone. The scientist lady, I was being shown a piece of copper piping, like you'd get a plumber using, and it had to have copper wire around it, and that was to go to a crystal. And she was to have a great big chunky battery at the bottom, and that would do that. And that made no sense to me, but it made perfect sense to her. And I'm quite happy to leave it at that because it's not. I can't possibly know everything. I actually find that the fact that I've got no short-term memory since having a stroke is an absolute godsend, um, to me, because I don't want to remember everything. I just want to. And if you want to be the best help you can be to people as well, it's important for you guys to know, because if you get some information for somebody, um, you mustn't get all infused. You can come for a reading and get a message from somebody. Like, for example, a couple of weeks ago, it was a young boy that was killed in an accident. And there was a lot of strife in the family because there was some people that said, oh, he's been taking drugs. He hadn't. He'd been drinking. He hadn't. And then they want to go and tell everybody. And the guy was saying, no, I don't want you to do that because you were ready to hear this information. You can't go and push that on other people. And so that's this. There's a responsibility that comes with channeling. That's what I'm trying to say. And we don't get information constantly, um, because otherwise you'd just go crazy, wouldn't you? But it's always relevant what we get, and it's fascinating.
It is. And
It's fascinating.
one example that springs to mind was, if you guys remember, God, it's probably 6 or 7 years ago now, when To the Stars came out. I, in England, was really
England
interested.
over there.
Yeah, England over there, just behind the camera there. It's a really long lens. Um, I was watching the Tom DeLonge stuff, and when he said that one of the Air Force, the Lockheed guy, had said to him, "You need to read up on the Greek gods," that sent me off. I was like Gandalf with the
Yeah,
scrolls,
you were.
learning about every Greek god and trying to find out and link them to UAP cases. I get here, and I hadn't told Mum, obviously. Yes, I've been a massive nerd about Greek mythology and XYZ. I get here, sat down, and Mum, within about 15 minutes, went, "Oh, stop wasting your time on the Greek gods. It's always been the same. They were just good at writing it down." And I was like, "Ah, okay." And this is all stuff that I'd been working on in secrecy, 1,300 miles away
Yeah,
in a bedroom. So there was zero opportunity for any bleed through of that type of information whatsoever. And I've got scores of examples of when that's happened with how
absolutely.
to fix guitars and all sorts of life
Mm,
advice. But that's how it seems to operate.
yeah.
So, how's about at this point then? Because I mean, I've quite regularly share footage of orbs and stuff that we see here.
Mm,
I know you've talked about this a couple of times
yeah.
on my channel, but if people haven't said it, it's a relevant thing to include a little bit. So why don't you
Okay.
just talk about that?
The CE5 kind of stuff, do you mean?
Well, I think a good thing to do first would be, when you saw that one behind your house,
Yes.
and then you connected as you would if a spirit popped into the room.
Well, yeah, because
I
to
don't want to
me,
put words in your mouth,
no,
but
that's what I'm trying to say. To me, it's like it I was aware quite quickly that it wasn't. You do all the little checklists that you're supposed to do. It's not a helicopter, it's not a
why don't
plane.
you explain what you could actually see first of all?
Well, we've talked about it in great detail,
Yeah, but
but
people might not have
basically
watched.
it was an orange, definitely orange, steady coloured orb shaped thing. Dot. It wasn't far away. I could see it. It was going very, very slow. My person I was with could see it. Um, and so because I was aware of some of these things from what Tom had said, I just thought, well, if it was anything else, I'd be asking it. So it's an automatic thing for me. If I see something, like we're sitting having a coffee and a little blue man appears by the door, it's not like a little green man in person, like walking in or anything. It just, I'm aware that that's where it is and that's what it looks like. So if you want a perfect idea of that, if I say to you, wherever you are in the world, if I say Kermit the Frog, just for a second, you see that in your head. You know it's not in front of you, but you can see it. You know what it is, and then your brain dismisses it straight away. So it's that seeing without knowing, or looking outside in the evening, you can see a lamp that's outside. 1 minute, you can see a light that outside, but it's your living room light. So you can see, it's outside. You're focusing on that. You can adjust your focus and see past it to the tree. But there's no difference. Carry on, son.
Hello there. I was just going to say that a good way I think of describing what it's like when Mum says, "Oh, the little blue fella in the corner," it's not a physical thing. If you right now have a look
It's
around,
there, but you just can't see it. Wait, yeah.
if you right now have a look around the room that you're in, consider all the people and things in it. Now shut your eyes, but imagine Marvin the Martian in exactly what you have just seen in your head.
Right.
Or a character,
Yeah.
Danger Mouse or Homer
Yeah.
Simpson or whatever, in that room. That's the impression of that presence. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's the same thing.
Yes.
It's a non-physical, but it's like
Yes.
integrated into your knowledge of that space, if that makes
But
sense.
also that's why it's very common for you guys, normal people, to suddenly think that there's something in your peripheral vision.
That was very.
There's something there. Okay? And you look and there's nothing there. And if you didn't look and you just kind of tried to work it out by not looking, you'd have got a better idea.
Well said. So, are there any? Because now we're at the stage where this stuff happens all the time, which is amazing. Because I mean, it frequently features in my videos and my research, I will be have information relayed on what to look into and stuff like that. Are there any particular examples you can think of, or any kind of profound? Because they've even it has a occurred with NHI during your teaching group.
Yeah, yeah,
So Mum
yeah. It
runs a
has.
psychic development group for people that are trying to enhance their abilities, and these entities have
That's right.
nipped in and started giving advice in that as well. So that's quite interesting.
Yes. So yeah, I do 2 groups a week. One's mediumship development, psychic stuff, all that, and the other one is a healing group. Um, and a guide I've had since I was 13, who is Fatima. She suddenly, I mean, that was when I was a child, 13, 17, 19. I was, introduced to her when I was 22 by my famous spooky auntie in Scotland, who explained to me that this person had been with me, this guide had been with me, blah, blah. Well, I got on with life and just really took no notice because I was busy doing other stuff. So I've not always been into mediumship. I've been busy in surviving my life. Um, and then I was doing this healing group one time, and I was aware that she'd just popped up in the kitchen. In the kitchen, like you would expect a guide to be a little bit more special than popping up next to the kitchen sink. Um, I have, it's quite a small house I've got here. It's lovely. I adore it, but it's not exactly spacious. So when we're talking about popping up in the kitchen, there's like a little hatchway that goes through from the lounge where we are. You can see into the kitchen if anybody's in there. So that's how I knew she was there. And the ladies were able to sense that she was there. And she, as a spirit guide, she's not a human. Spirit guides are different than normal guides. Okay, so you've got your people who have passed, your grands, your granddads, your partners, etc. They're on that first level of vibration above you. Your spirit guides are usually people that you've not had a connection to. Um, these are the ones that help you on your journey of what were you supposed to learn this time, and they give you that little guidance from when you were a little child and stuff like that. So for her to pop up in this group, she was then saying that that's what we had to work on, and we do to close each of the energy doesn't change when she's here; it's exactly the same. And at the end of all my groups, we link hands, we ask for healing, and I won't go into any more of that because it's a separate thing. But it's not.
Well, that is what it is. Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing, and you can feel the energy. So the ones that I've come across, all of them, without exception, have been here to help us and give us information, whether it's for me personally, for my clients, for Tom and his work, and some of his, what's the word, comrades, associates,
fellow weirdos,
fellow podcasters,
you love,
little YouTubing community.
Yeah.
Because I'll get information for them as well, which is great.
Yep.
I love doing that. It's
And
like
the fun thing is
being everybody's mum.
because obviously it's a bit of a bold step to say, hey, by the way, this entity just told me this to tell you. Sometimes if you just tell people the information, they go, oh my God, perfect. Thanks so much. And you're just like, do you think it's related to the hitchhiker effect in the experience that you have? In what I mean by that is when people that have militaristic intent or negative intent or are just generally a bit of a shitty person, they tend to have a higher percentage of negative interactions with, meeting nasty entities and stuff like some of the stuff you hear about at Skinwalker Ranch. But then the people that were there studying it are the people that waterboarded people, and there's real rough types that have been involved there, and then they're bumping into horrible things. Whereas I'm not. This is in no way like oh look at me, look at them But if you are the people that they've taken to Skinwalker Ranch that were like Buddhists or just
Mm.
wanted to meditate,
Right.
they've attracted a form of intelligence that resonated with their intent.
Okay. I think when you're a good person, your vibration is different. Um, again, we've discussed this in other videos. For example, um, animals pick up on your vibration. They don't understand what language you're speaking. You can meet somebody of another uh, that speaks another language from you, and it's your vibration that they pick up. You feel safe with them, or you like them or not. And I think it's exactly the same as. So I can agree to some degree with what you're saying. I've no knowledge of meeting these people that can give me. I couldn't. If I went there, then I could give you a better answer because I'd see what I'd experience
Yeah.
personally. So with me, um, my intent is, and it's so important in this line of work, it's so important in this line of work. My intent is if I can't help you, I won't hurt you, which is very reminiscent of the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. But you are in a position of trust and you're always going to meet people who will scam people. The charlatan, what a wonderful old word that is. Take advantage of people. Con men have always been amongst us. Okay. I think that the minute you try and trick people in this type of work or big yourself up and make it better, um, upstairs will back away from you a wee bit. So, oh, no, 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 no. We needed somebody with a bit more integrity than that. Not that they think you're a bad person necessarily, but why would you spoil the opportunity to help people? Because that's what I do. Um, and that's not me talking myself up. I do help people. They find it helpful, and so when I'm doing that, and when you're working with integrity, you're just keeping your frequency nice and calm and relaxed to make people feel safe, and that is an energy that seems to be attractive to them. Okay, if we think some of the things that Tom has seen, um, his videos and things where people have been frightened by it and other people have had lovely experiences. That's not to say that those ordinary people were bad people.
Yeah.
Betty and Barney Hill, for example.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect example because they were in. Well, yeah, 10 points to Gryffindor. Because Barney had a terrifying experience.
Yes.
But as a black man at that time, his life was a much harder road.
Exactly.
And Betty was there. It was like an episode of the Jetsons. She's there having a chat and we're going to keep this book. And why have you got star charts? Where have you come from? Maybe if you come back, I can meet the president. And this thing's having a little chit chat with her. And that seems to be, rather than like some sort of karmic or you attract what you put out, it's more of a reflective thing. So it's like if you expect something horrible,
yes,
it goes okay.
But
And if you only expect or only allow the good, you seem to attract that. Like a great example was yesterday
yeah,
when I was rambling on one of my theories of how everything works and something like that, and we had an
yes,
entity pop in,
yes, we did.
basically attracted to what we were talking about.
Yes, yes, it was.
That was really interesting because
Yes, it was.
they didn't come in and drop tons of paragraphs. It was like they gave me some really key bits of
Yes.
information, and then we're like, "That's all you need for now."
That's all you need
But
for
it was
now.
like the fact that we were having that conversation in that tone was some form of beacon
Yeah.
for that type of entity.
Yes.
Uh,
So they're able to access our thoughts without question.
yeah, and I think that's, I'm sorry to interrupt, that's a massive point. And when Jim Semivan, because like the internet at the moment is blowing up again over the legendary James Iandoli's interview with Jim Semivan, which if you haven't seen, do. in which he says that the biggest part of the UAP discussion is indigestible. And I think that is the 300-pound invisible gorilla in the room, is that you have no privacy from this stuff.
Mm.
And I think that rather than the whole religious um, crumblings
Mm.
that we talk about, it's not that. It's the fact that there are people with schizophrenia and mental health, and you have to be in a very healthy, clean mental place to even dabble in this sort of field. And so I think the indigestible part is that if we just tell the public, oh, by the way, like, imagine all your thoughts being on an IMAX screen 5 foot behind your head to all of this stuff, and you can't scheme and trick it. And Lou Elizondo with his aircraft carrier with a fake nuke on it, like, no, they can tell your intent and exactly what you're thinking and planning. David Fravor knowing his cap point, for example, when the Tic Tac went to where he was going.
Yeah.
There is no, doesn't matter how fancy your F-22s and things are, if your supposed opponent that you're trying to outsmart knows exactly what you're going to do,
Yeah.
you're wasting your time. And I think
like a psychic chess partner.
well, yeah, it's
How
like
boring
playing.
would that be?
It's like playing having a boxing match with somebody that's 5 seconds in the future. You doesn't matter how strong and fast you are. They just go cool.
But they also are aware when you're feeling fear.
Very
You're
much so.
afraid of them, and so they can, it would appear, change how you feel about that, change your frequency a wee bit, calm you down a wee bit.
But that's like the biblical thing, isn't it? When
Be not afraid.
indeed, the amount of conversations that start with "be not afraid," and then somebody halfway up a mountain in sandals can have a conversation with a bundle of wings and eyes as if they're talking to another person in the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's some very
Yeah. And you've also, of course, in that same thing, you've got people who have had an experience and completely forgotten about it. Completely forgotten about it. And then years later, they might be watching a movie or something or a podcast and suddenly think, oh my God, I experienced that. So how the hell could I have forgotten that? So are they able to lock things away? Is that something your brain does? I don't know.
I think part of it is a trauma response, but I'm not qualified to have an opinion
Yeah,
on
but
this.
that's just our 20th century current psychiatric model of what it is.
Yeah, but so Chaz from Vandenberg, he
Yes.
was the eyewitness to the Vandenberg encounter with Jeff,
Yes.
Jeff Nustelli. And we interviewed Chaz not long ago on Jeff's channel. And Chaz said he had this skeleton key moment where he was watching Jeff on, I think it was Merged or Weaponized, and it was like clunk. Oh my God, I was there. I saw that. It's the most terrifying thing that happened in my entire
Yeah.
life. And he basically turned to his partner and just started rambling about it. Came in, it's this big, it's the size of a football stadium. And she was like, what the hell is going on with
Yeah.
you? So, yeah, these extremely profound, suppressed memories.
So
There's something interesting about that.
yeah, I think that on the whole, like I say, I haven't met these nasty ones at Skinwalker. I've come across bad, scary spirit, and dealt with that. So I'm not saying that that's not there, but for most people, they're not in a position where we're not summoning evil spirits. We're not talking about evil spirits here. We're talking about an intelligence that is communicating with us. And in my experience, which is what I can only talk about properly, I've had first-hand experience of it, thereby I know it to be true. It's been in a helpful mode. And there's loads of instances of that. Was it Mark Twain, Abraham Lincoln, Tesla?
Yeah.
All of whom said that they had experiences where they downloaded it or they went to a different place or they were shown this stuff. Throughout history there's been that. So they've always connected with normal people. and not just the leaders.
That's part of an interesting conversation because people that aren't into this conversation too deeply say, well,
Yeah.
why don't they land on the White House lawn and show everybody? But that is not how it
Well,
works.
I seem to remember that there was a lot of them filmed over the White
Well,
House.
they've been over the Capitol building and nobody paid attention. And then that happened twice and they got
Yeah.
shot at over Los Angeles and that didn't work. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that whole argument is moot anyway. But it's true, like the trends in the appearance and interaction of this stuff is not mass sightings like a day like Phoenix Lights, which I talk about all the time, but
Yeah.
it's the individuals in isolated areas normally. Look at Chris Bledsoe, like he was up a hill
Yeah.
going through exceptional trauma.
That's right. The last thing he was thinking of was meeting anything out of this worldly
Yeah, but he
kind of thing.
was having a kind of inadvertent C5 experience where he was essentially crying out to God and I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't know him that well
Yeah,
personally.
exactly.
But that seemed to be it popped up and appeared to him and this isn't
I
a
think
president or a
I would like
politician
to
or
think there that he was in desperate need of empathy and some compassion, and that's exactly what he triggered.
yeah, but that is this whole resonance.
It's a vibration that if you're feeling like that, your vibration is different than somebody that's skippity happity. And I think that in the same way that we were talking before about frequencies, it's really important. Your vibration, your frequency, other animals, people, intelligences can pick up on that frequency.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's probably a good time to get into the C5
Mm.
discussion because I've done C5 tons on my own, and I would say it's probably a 45 to 50% success rate.
If you get 1%, you should be bloody happy.
No, exactly. I'm not in any way moaning. I'm making out that I'm not like Gandalf or anything like
Oh,
that.
I know, but
But with you,
don't set the bar too high for other people to have a go.
no. The whole point of my channel is that there's nothing special about me. So if this mad stuff happens to me, it can happen to anybody. What I'm trying to say is, if I've had that sort of success rate when we've done it,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only twice when nothing's happened.
Yeah,
And so,
but when we've done it, if I may, we don't we don't we don't sit there and say, "Come on, come on, come on." It just happens because we're there. We're in the frame of mind,
exactly.
and we're not trying to get it. It's just we're here, and we think, wouldn't it be lovely to see something?
Yeah, exactly. So you're communicating intent. The whole concept of summoning and implies dominion and control
Well, exactly.
and
Superiority.
is absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
But it seems like in this hitchhikery way, if you're like, for example, we did it very successfully with our friend Peter, who is also like an energy healer and aspirant
He
medium and everything.
he is a human pendulum for energy.
He is
He's
a
an
human
amazing
pendulum.
person,
He is a
and
cool
we are
guy.
going to do a little video with him.
Indeed. But the three of us did C5 and we weren't, I mean, we were kind of like, this is amazing, everything's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we were just having a chat. And
Yeah.
then after about 40 minutes,
Yeah.
it's like, boop, 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 and then a bit later, bum, 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 and things that aren't on
Well,
Solaris.
the one with you and Jeff, when I'm going to embarrass him here because Jeff Nusatelli stayed with us for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Only because I couldn't lock the door before he got. I brought a big sign outside, no salesman or whistleblowers, but there you go, he came in anyway. But yeah, we dressed him up for Halloween.
And got him absolutely blasted on mango daiquiris.
Tom and Jeff were a little bit, they're falling over water.
Well, I don't really drink, so
He's got great video footage of these orbs and the amount of beeps that should have been in that.
Yeah.
What the deep is that, man? Holy deep. That was Jeff, of course.
That looks elevated. What the fuck?
There's one on each side of it.
Each side.
And this isn't that girl with her fire.
No, that's
like,
not the
she was to the right of that.
Oh,
what
what the
Once flickered out.
Okay.
What the hell? This is arguably not the strangest thing that's happened today as well.
Which is... Look at the glow coming.
What the
f are we looking at, dude? What the f
Whoa.
And
Can't
it's just
swear because this might
steady.
be in Congress next year. But
Oh my god, would you imagine? I was in Spain.
these drunkards
We were hammered.
watching a giant orb out to sea. Well, I'd been giggling because I'd been saying to him leading up to him actually coming here, you just turn up. If you want to see this stuff, just be here.
Just come and play.
You don't need any. There's nothing special. We just it's like going and I can go and see dolphins. Like you're gonna see stuff if you come here. So he did, and he did. You know,
we say that
we
to people, and I think they just think, yeah, right. And then they turn, it's like, oh my god,
holy shit, yeah,
You know?
Jesus, you haven't been lying.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were both giggly, shall we say, and I'm just like, right, we need to go to the beach. We go to the beach, and then we had the most unbelievable light show for about half an hour. And it was as simple as that. We were just in a positive mood, in a positive place.
So you didn't go out and do any sort of ceremony or
No,
meditation?
there's
like,
no-
please come in or
No pointy hats or psionic assets, and nobody needed to duct tape me to the top of a Land Rover. Like,
I do think, though, to interrupt you, that these orbs that we see, these lights that we see here, don't seem to interact at all. They seem to just be there. I don't, I've tried to say, who are you and what you're doing? Nothing comes back. Whereas the others I've seen, which you referred to earlier, as soon as I've said, you're not supposed to be here, who are you and what do you want? In that exact tone, so like, you're not supposed to be here, they disappear. Gone. That's it. These just seem to be doing what they do. They just seem to be hanging out.
yeah, exactly. It's a very natural way that they kind of move, and that they kind of hang out like fruit flies.
Well, we've got wild boar here because we're in the, we're in a wonderful country. We've got wild boar, and we'll stand and watch them. We'll throw apples and things for them, and we can hear them, and we watch them, and they don't try and interact with us. They're oblivious to us.
Tried to kill me and Jeff, but
well, they frighten the hell out of you. But there you go. But no, the point is that that's a species that we're interested in, but it's oblivious of us, other than it doesn't think, oh, Joyce was giving me an apple. It thinks, oh, there's some good apples over here. We probably don't even think of that. So why wouldn't we think that this could be a life form in itself?
it's certainly the impression I get because the only I've told this story a bunch of times, so I'm sorry, but I saw a red one right behind the house here coming down the mountain, and
very close to you.
I've said this to the UAP files guys, but my phone was on charge, and I was consciously not saying in my head, ooh, that's an orb, just because I really wanted it to be. So I was like, it's below the horizon, it's about 40 feet away, it's blood red, it's not casting light out anywhere, it's moving in a really meandery way, not like somebody trudging down a mountain. There's wild boar and snakes and lynx out there, so there's not going to be anybody walking down there. So I think that's an orb. I'm going to get my phone. As soon as I thought I'm going to get my phone and record it, it just went whoop.
That's right.
So,
and there's lots of instances where batteries have gone dead.
Well, yeah.
But is that a conscious thing? Are they conscious Are they
Well, I think
almost like
I don't know, and I think that's the point. We'd only be guessing, but
exactly?
there is, in my head, concrete proof of at least a knowledge of your intent or attention.
I think that's the word, attention. When they, as soon as you become aware of them, they're instantly aware of you, and that's when they either do something else or disappear, or well, they don't just well, they can disappear. They generally just shoot off at a ridiculous speed.
Yeah,
So you can't just think, oh, it's gone behind a cloud. It's just like, no, it's gone straight
yeah,
up.
yeah. It's because that was the clearest example for me. Because whilst I was spinning through mount, is it a guy? Is it a Chinese lantern? Is
Mm.
it a?
Which you should do.
I
Try and
was
explain
watching
it
this
away.
thing perfectly clearly coming down this mountainside, and the second I was like, it is an orb, and
Mm.
I grabbed my phone. That almost a second I was like orb, it just went whoop.
Yeah.
So it was certainly aware of my attention, if not
Yes.
intention as well.
Yes.
Um, my intent obviously was to film it and put it on the internet and go, these
Yes.
things are real. Here's the proof.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the plan.
Yes. So it's I don't know. There's no clear answer, is there? That's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah, the point isn't to give answers. I think what I think is important to do is just normalize the topic.
Yes.
You know, we used to think that viruses were ill spirits and things
Yes.
like that until we understood that actually no, this is a part of our extended biosphere, and it would appear that non-human intelligences,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be from X people
Mm-hmm.
or entirely different forms of life that are not physically
Yes.
incorporated isn't the word, is it?
Doesn't matter.
You know, that aren't incarnated. This stuff is still around us, and when you look at the historical conversations about jinn and the Fey folk and whatever, we seem to have had lots of different names for this type of
Well, maybe
interaction.
we're the only sort of century that hasn't, and so we call them orbs.
Yeah, but that's because science is a new global religion, so we describe them in a very scientific way. They are balls of plasma, but then we are skeletons with meat hanging off.
Of course we are.
But that takes away the magic, if you like, of wow, that's a really cool thing. No, that's science. So we describe them in the language of the time, which is why
Yeah.
the Romans used to call them rondels because they had a round shield and it looked like that.
That's right.
You know that goes through. You always describe lots of the Francis of Assisi and lots of the religious encounters.
Yeah.
Were them describing their encounters in their culturally specific ways.
But I also think that because of the historical thing, people that have been skeptical of UFO, I think that's the worst thing we could have called it is UFO and flying saucers, which I think was a lot of that was a look at this over here, a deflection
The Robertson
in the
panel.
50s.
The Robertson panel.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly, but you should.
No, it's we are able to do this, but we haven't been told as children. Children play with their energy. They have imaginary friends. We say, don't be silly, there's nobody there. So they block that out. They become normal humans, and their scope of what they can do disappears. And you're going to do this, and you're going to get good grades, and you're going to get a degree, and you're going to get a good job, and you're going to be a slave for the rest of your life, blah, 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 blah. Instead of letting them play with what they used to do, because children always played with energy. It just is, it's so limiting. And so we are now brainwashed to think that what we're talking about is woo or loopy or crazy, or you've been at the moon dust or the mushrooms or whatever the derogatory comment they throw at you, instead of having a conversation like this where people can think, yeah, actually that works. We do work on, You can call it instinct if you want. If you see somebody collapsing in the street and you're not a nurse, you could automatically know to do this, 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 and this, and be in control and say, you call this, you do that, and do it, and comfort that person, and then later be a shaking wreck. And people think, well, how did you know to do that? And you don't know. It's just that somebody gave you that information to help you. And I also think, so what I'm trying to say is that everybody gets messages.
Yeah.
Everybody's channeling all the time, but isn't aware of it. But what a wonderful place it would be if people were thinking, oh, that I channeled that then. Thank you for that. And that part of your brain gets more synapses. So we all become better attuned. What a wonderful civilization we'd have.
I agree.
We'd be working for each other.
But another way of describing it is if you consider radiation, prior to Marie Curie and whatnot, people were still dying of cancers and radiation exposure, but they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't in accepted consensus reality.
Mm.
And it was only through the diligence of her work. I mean, Jacques Vallée quite morbidly said it's not enough to understand this 98% because in Marie Curie's case, the 2% will kill you. And that's, I think, the risk that you're in of forcing all of this into human reality, our version of whatever reality is.
Yeah. Well, my argument to people who will say, well, it's ridiculous. You can't prove it, you can do it. I'll just say, well, that's. Are you aware of the program for the SRI and the fact that the CIA sponsored it for so many years?
Yeah.
For, was it 10 years?
22.
22 years with a huge amount of money. You don't think they're going to do that for more than 6 months if they're not getting returns on their money? So there is evidence that the psychics, the mediums, the remote viewers, because it's all the same sort of thing, are a valid thing, because they wouldn't be wanting to do it. The new word is this psi, whatever it is.
Oh, psionic asset. Yeah, but it's
a psionic asset.
But the thing is, the reason this has been so stigmatized. So they said to Russell Targ, and I'm sorry because I know I've repeated myself again, that regardless of how effective SRI were with their remote viewing programs and stuff, they would shut the program down in failure because they could, like Joe McMoneagle and all of these legends were just out there. They weren't made like Steve Rogers in some laboratory to be this super soldier. They were just regular people. And when they learned about remote viewing or whatever they were doing, they were naturally brilliant at it. So you imagine if this filters into reality that, oh, by the way, you can see anywhere through time and space that you want to with remote viewing. You can access entities and information outside the control of your government and culture. That's indigestible. That's what they would call catastrophic disclosure because it's a catastrophe to the people trying to control you.
Yes. When you asked me to do this, and you're right, I was never interested in all this spooky stuff until I actually saw that there's no difference. Wherever the information's coming from, providing it's good information, it's valid. You don't need to quantify it. And I want people to know that. I want you to recognize how many times you're getting help. And just remember to say thank you. If you have a narrow escape, when you're at a roundabout and somebody's indicating and you just think, I'm not going, and they just left the bloody indicator on, and if you'd have pulled out, you'd have got trashed. Just say thanks for that. Because that's how you build your own trust in your intuition, which is your channeling. But if you just think, oh, it's my intuition, it's really good. If you say thank you, then your brain realizes, actually, that was a spooky bit. So you get better at it. That can only help you in your normal everyday life, whether it's career, family life, anything. Is this something I should do? Yes or no? And you just get nope or no. Okay. If you're driving and you suddenly feel like you've got to stop, what do I need to stop now? No, next exit. Okay, that's fine. So it's controlling it and getting used to the fact that when you channel something, wherever the hell it's come from, it's come in. And if it's from somebody from the future that is trying to help you, does it matter? Does it matter that it's not your sister that's died? If it's helpful, it's helpful. So there is no difference. So what I'm saying is people can be channeling from entities, aliens, other dimensions, the future us. Doesn't matter. You're channeling. And it's the same process for all of those.
Yeah, and as I ramble to people all the time when they're staring down this rabbit hole of ufology and reality not being as they think, the end result is normal life. So
Yeah.
don't think that, oh God, if I learn this, the catastrophic thing, like, no, it doesn't matter if you discover that there are non-human intelligences tearing about all through the place all the time. Like,
Yeah.
they're not going to stop you from going to work and going to pub and football and having your normal, cool life that you're happy with. It's just that you will understand it a little more.
I saw a thing that's just reminded me of a thing I saw where somebody got off a train in London, one of the big stations, and they were still in the middle of the picture. And you can see everybody else going, this is all round them like little blurs. And I'm sure what it's like, that's what it's like for some of these other beings. We're in our busy little frequency and blah, 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 and they're not. So we don't see them because they're not moving at the same speed as us. I know that's baby talk.
That's a very
that's how it works.
Interesting way of. That's a really valid point. I forget.
Put that in the diary.
I forget the scientist that said it, but he said if you could alter the molecular bond of things, you can determine whether it's visible or not. So, I mean, a crow to us is jet black. To other birds, it's like a peacock, the thing sparkling because it's outside of the visual spectrum.
Yes.
And also, I think it's probably interesting for these different forms of life that most of us are closed off to their existence. So then I guess every now and then when they see somebody that's a bit switched on and
which is what
looking
we
for
were
this
told
stuff,
last night.
Exactly.
We were having a general conversation, a very interesting conversation. And this, I just suddenly got as if somebody was sitting on my shoulder. But it was here, came straight in, and he just said, that's absolutely accurate. That's it. Forget about anything else. That bit is accurate. Okay? It was a bit like Rosetta Stone kind of idea.
Yeah.
We were talking about a lot of stuff and it was all a little bit distracted, chasing after every bicycle thing. And then it's like, no, focus on that. That's right. Work from that. And it was like, oh, okay. Well, we just got that bit. And so we did. We just became more focused.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is don't be hard on yourself. And don't think I'll never channel anything. I'm not good enough. You're probably channeling all the damn time, but don't realise it. Well, you will be channeling all the time and not realise it.
So there we go. So I hope you found something interesting about this. If there's any aspects of, like, obviously we didn't want to get too weird too quickly with people because it's such an extraordinary thing to accept is possible that there's no point in having this happened on this date and this was the message because it won't have that relevance for the audience. This was just intended to be a little taster of what it's actually like from somebody that I trust and have had first-hand experiences with, because that's the only stuff I feel you should be confident about talking about. There's that great saying, believe nothing that you hear and half of what you see.
Yeah.
And
nothing wrong with that.
And that this is the bonkers world that we live in where we have these experiences. So I thought it would be good to share.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, if you made it through this, then thank you very, very, very much. If you would like to treat us to a mince pie by any chance, there is a link below to buy us a wonderful Christmas coffee.
Tequila.
Okay, or a tequila. And I guess the only thing left to say is thank you for being here, and we will see you in the very near future.